Hello, and welcome to the WWIA Podcast. We're honored to have you join us in our mission to bring honor, connection, and healing to America's combat wounded Purple Heart heroes. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, we welcome you. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. Please be sure to tell others about our podcast and leave us a review if you're enjoying what you're hearing. On this episode of the WWIA Podcast, WWIA Founder and CEO John McDaniel welcomes Mr. Roy McKenzie to the program. Roy resides in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and is the founder and owner of Four Bulls Meats, Seafood, and Deli. Roy has been in the meat and butchery business for over 35 years and has the distinct honor of having won 4 National Beef Stampede Awards. Roy's also the host of WWIA's annual North Dakota Pheasant Hunt, which will proudly celebrate its 6th year of honoring and serving our heroes this fall. Roy also co-hosts the End of Summer BBQ Cookoff Concert in Ocean Springs, an outstanding fundraising event that helps support WWIA as well as other local nonprofits within Mississippi. Roy's a proud and avid supporter of WWIA and America's combat wounded veterans, and we're honored to spend time talking with him and sharing his part of his story with you today. Let's join the conversation with John and Roy now.
Hi, I'm John McDaniel, the founder and CEO of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation, and this is our podcast series, Honor, Connect, and Heal. Well, listen, I appreciate you tuning in again to listen to another episode. We're having a lot of fun with this here at the foundation. We're interviewing some amazing people, and with us today, we have one of our ardent supporters, a great American by the name of Roy McKenzie. And Roy is in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, where I just recently visited, and we'll talk about that. But Roy is also the proprietor of an amazing company called Four Bulls. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all the great fundraising and operational support that Roy and his communities, plural, have been providing to the foundation. With no further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome you, Roy McKenzie, to the program. How you doing today?
Doing great, John. I appreciate the honor to be here and visit with you.
Great, isn't it? You know, I've heard I've been hearing about you for years, and the foundation's grown so much in 17 years that there's a lot of folks I haven't met, key players that I personally have not met. And here recently, when I was visiting an event in Alabama, I looked at a map and I said, this is an opportunity for me to run down to the coast, the Gulf Coast, which I absolutely love, that part of the country, and meet a very special person. So I gave you a call. I said, hey, I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but if you're free for lunch, let's do it. And you said, or breakfast, I guess, and you said that'd be great. And I got the chance to meet you. And I really enjoyed our time together there in your hometown, and thanks for hosting me for a few hours and showing me, your little domain there. But
absolutely,
it was great.
So glad to have you here and come see where we're at and kind of what we're all about, and get a chance to taste some of our local cuisine as well, even though it was breakfast. But at any rate, yeah, it was great having you, and very, very nice to have finally gotten the opportunity to shake hands with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was my pleasure. I genuinely mean it. I really enjoyed myself. Where did we have breakfast? Where was that?
That was the Blue Dog Cafe.
Oh, that was good breakfast. I remember I had crab cakes Benedict.
Yep.
Wow, it was so good. They even served me a cup of coffee that had like a bulldog on it or something. I remember it showed up. Like floating in the cream was this really cool bulldog or something. It was outstanding. Yeah, I had a great time. Well, Roy, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, so that folks can get to know you a little bit better and maybe transition to how you got involved with the foundation, and then we'll pick it up from there, if you don't mind, please.
Well, John, I'm a lifelong grocer, butcher by trade, and I've been doing this for about 43 years. And I ended up in North Dakota in the grocery business. It's been about 12 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a promotion there every year, annually, and it was it was a butcher promotion for our meat departments in the 3 stores. And it was called the Beef Stampede. And we put together different fundraisers throughout that event, usually local charities that we would fundraise for. And I just happened to get the opportunity to hear about you guys down the line, and visited with Rick McConaughey out in South Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
At the Grand Ciel Lodge, and picking up my dog out there. He'd been training, as a matter of fact. And you guys were having an event there. It just so happened the weekend that I went out to pick him up. And so I asked Rick, I said, "Hey, man, what is this all about?" And he told me, and I got to see some of the pictures hanging throughout the lodge there, and I got super excited about it. So as soon as I got back to my office there in Garrison, North Dakota, I got on the telephone and started ringing Karina
Mm-hmm.
and getting information and hey, how can we do this? And we made it happen for the first event about 3 months later in October that same year.
What year was that, Roy? Do you recall?
Let's see. That would be, well,
8?
this would be October would be 6 years. So we're looking at what, about 2016?
I was going to say 15 or 16, but yeah.
15, 15.
Yep.
Yep. I think 15 would be right.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Probably 15 for a 16 go, probably.
Yep.
Your first contact, 15, started executing in the mission there, and 16. You know, for the crowd out there listening, you know, you don't really sound like you have an accent from the Dakotas.
Oh.
I love your accent, by the way. I mean, you're let's just chat a little bit about you for a second. I mean, you hail originally from the South, Mississippi, don't you?
Correct. Yep.
And then so you're a butcher for 40 some odd years, but you ended up in North Dakota working as in a grocery chain. And so that's kind of the connection, right?
That is the absolute connection. Yep.
Wow. And then so you did that. Now, I tell you what, that's one skill I don't have. Now, I've processed my fair share of game animals, you know, and mostly learned, you know, as I was doing it when I was younger. But, you know, if you gave me a side of beef and said, go at it, you know, I reckon I could probably do it. I mean, I would butcher it, no doubt, but I wouldn't do a great job at it. But anybody, you know, who has a skill set like you do that I don't have, I just always admire. And that's why when we were having breakfast, you know, we probably spent most of the time, I did anyway, asking you questions about, you know, being a butcher and raising, you know, beef and cattle, because you're now doing that through your company called Four Bulls, right?
That's correct.
And you have a little storefront there, and you also sell seafood, high grade seafood right from that region. And
correct.
And you have I guess I don't know what you would call it, but you have a ranch where you have cattle, right?
Yep, exactly.
And those cattle supply, you know, some of the beef that is sold at your storefront.
Yep. It supplies our Wagyu, American Wagyu beef. We do supply ourselves here locally with that. And then we also service a couple of restaurant industries out in Texas, Arizona area on the Wagyu beef. The middle meats that we don't necessarily use here at our store, we sell to a few different restaurant entities that buys a product from us.
Now, you I got turned on. I would say it wasn't even about a year ago that I learned of this thing called Wagyu beef. I saw it in a local butcher store here in my hometown of where I live now in Apollo Beach. There's a little meat market here, and they were advertising that they sold Wagyu beef, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, I was a little bit shocked at the price, and so I'd saved my pennies, and it was probably. I mean, I love when I can get, some prime beef, a nice New York strip or a, Delmonico in a prime. When it's available and I've saved my pennies, I'll buy it, and enjoy it and cook it myself. But so I tried some of that Wagyu and I was like, holy smokes, that is good stuff.
It's definitely a game changer, that's for sure.
It is. It's a game changer. That's a good way to put it.
Even for myself, it's a special event item.
Yeah, I had the occasion. I don't know, about a month or so ago, right around Easter time. I splurged and had a nice New York strip Wagyu, and I cooked it on my big green egg, and I was just like in seventh heaven. It was darn near a religious experience. That's some good stuff. And you're raising that. Now, I want you tell us about that. I mean, I find it fascinating what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about what makes something Wagyu and how you got into it. I'm fascinated by that, if you don't mind.
Yep. So we're primarily American raised Wagyu, and how we get that is we have several Japanese Wagyu bulls that are DNA'd, 100% bloodline. And then we cross inseminate them with certified Black Angus, and that's how we get American Wagyu. That's what separates American Wagyu from Kobe beef. Is what's missing is the Japanese steer, and in place we use certified Black Angus steer.
Are you telling me that you have? I assume that's the name of your company, Four Bulls. Now, I assume that you have 4 bulls or maybe 3 or 5. I don't know what your number is, and I'm not trying to pry into your business. But what I'm trying to get at is, are you telling me that you have in your possession on your land certified 100%, Wagyu bulls, Japanese bulls that are certified DNA?
Certified DNA.
So how did you get them from Japan to here?
Well, I didn't necessarily get them from Japan personally, but got them through some other ranchers that deals in that. These bulls actually came out of Texas. Well, one of them came out of Texas. The other came out of Arizona. So we have 2 on location, and so we that's what we use to artificially inseminate our Black Angus steers.
See, I just find it fascinating. I just do. I don't know why I do. I just do. I think it's just, it's very, very unique. I mean, obviously there's a significant genetic component to this. It probably also has to do with how you feed them, when you feed them, what you feed them, right? Isn't that true too?
Very expensive process.
It's probably like having a Ferrari. It's one thing to be able to buy a Ferrari. It's another thing to be able to keep and maintain a Ferrari, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's a very expensive process, and then you have to be ready to have them go to the rails at a certain weight. You don't want to go over that weight, so either below it or right at it. And then another worry is stress them out between the ranch and the processing plant, whether it be on the truck and trailer that's transporting them, or they kind of get stressed out once they get to the processor. That can affect the certification and you could end up losing a lot of money if there's any stress in that animal once the inspector checks it out.
Because they're releasing some sort of chemical in their body because they got stressed out, and somehow that affects the quality of the meat.
It does, absolutely. Yep.
They got it down to that science.
Got it down to that science, and then they do a blood draw on them, and that blood draw is sent to the USDA lab here in Mississippi, and it's tested. And if it's not 99.9%, whenever it comes back, they won't certify it. So there's a process that you have to go through. You got to really be careful on, but yeah, all of our animals are certified and DNA'd, so we really don't have that worry. Our worry is just not stressing that animal out on the day of processing.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I got to ask now, like, how do you not stress an animal out, or conversely, how do you even know if you're stressing one out? I don't know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even think I wouldn't even guess that a cow or a bull, any of them could get stressed out, but I suppose it's possible. How's that happen?
Yep. Well, it's Wagyu is ranched a little differently than your ordinary cattle. They don't get a lot of grass feeding, range feeding. They're kept in close quarters. They're babied. I like to say sometimes we read them bedtime stories, but that's only on a few occasions where it really has some worries.
When you're really trying to fetch a high dollar at market, you can.
Yeah. So it's once you move them from their environment and start, loading them on a truck and trailer and transport them, they're very smart animals, and they tend to kind of get stressed out occasionally. So you got to be very careful in the process. You can't rush the animals. It's a slow process. It may take 4 hours to load 2 animals, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Wow. Yeah.
And it also takes a very skilled truck driver.
Oh, I bet. And the route's got to probably be approved and selected and managed carefully, and the time, probably the temperature and everything else, right?
Yeah.
But you start getting into this thing, you go, whoa, what did I get myself into? It's probably like a lot of things, right?
Yeah, it is. It's here anymore. It's probably become more of a hobby than anything. It's just being able to get animals processed in this region anymore has gotten more and more difficult, and anywhere from a 6-month to a 1-year wait list. So,
wow,
it's just kind of some of our animals that we've had recently. We have I've auctioned them off and sold them on auction just because I wasn't able to get them processed in time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to dominate the entire conversation here talking about the Wagyu beef, but I could. My tendency is to want to do that because I find it fascinating. Well, when I was in your store there, 4 Bulls, I was super impressed with everything that was behind the counter, how you prepared and presented your offerings. Everything just looked wonderful. It was an amazing, deli, boutique style, storefront, and it was really nice. And I think, just commending you and your staff on what you've created there. I'm sure it's a going enterprise and doing quite well. It's a wonderful part of the country for folks that haven't been down to the Ocean Springs, Mississippi. It's just right across the river from Biloxi, right? I mean, isn't that a river that separates y'all?
Well, actually, that's the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
So, yep, there's a bridge that separates us. It's about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
At most from Biloxi.
Yeah.
We're about an hour and 45 minutes west of the Pensacola, Destin, Florida area, Orange Beach.
Yep.
And about 45 minutes to the east or northeast of New Orleans.
Right. So that whole area, that whole Delta area in the Gulf Coast region is teeming with game, and to include all kinds of amazing aquatic fish and shrimp and oysters. I mean, seafood is huge in that area, right? So huge.
Yeah.
And it probably feeds, they're probably shipping produce out of that, seafood and produce out of that area, all across the world. I mean, there's
all across the United States.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a huge area for local seafood, shrimp, oyster beds, crawfish, but which actually isn't a seafood. But
right.
At any rate, it's good.
It is good. I love it.
But yeah, I mean, it's this is a huge area for seafood. We also have the Dole plant here, so there's a lot of fruits that's comes through this area and is trucked out. But primarily, we are the seafood capital of the South. There's no doubt about it.
Yep. That's just great. I love it down there. I love to eat good food, seafood and beef in particular. Well,
fresh.
Yes, very fresh. Let me ask you, Roy. I mean, obviously you saw, you got when you were at the Grand Ciel Lodge visiting, Rick, and picking up your dog. You got a chance to see the foundation at work there. And it piqued your interest, and now you've developed operations that support our combat wounded pheasant hunting operations. Now, let me just ask you, now that you're into it 5-6 years now, what's the attraction for you? I mean, helping. I mean, obviously you're a very charitable man, but. I want to ask you, helping our combat wounded Purple Heart recipients is something obviously that resonates with you. Why is that?
Well, I'll tell you, my dad was in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. I had an uncle that medically retired in the Air Force, and my great grandfather, which was Simon Lee, died in Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
I had the opportunity to go in the military, and instead I chose a college and a baseball scholarship, and I've always had regrets about that. And this is one of these things to where I come across you guys, and it is, for me, it's a humbling experience to be able to have this avenue to go through in order to honor these men and women who have put their lives and their limbs on the line to make sure that we're safe here in the United States of America. They have fought for our freedoms. They have fought for our safety, and they've put us above family, their livelihoods, their limbs. And I tell you right now, this is one of the best organizations that I could ever run across. And I definitely think that there was a reason besides picking up my dog that day that I ran into Rick there at Grand Ciel, and this was it.
Well, you said that very, very eloquently, and I appreciate you sharing the story, with all that history in your family of service, and then, you going off to school and choosing a college degree and play baseball. I hear not infrequently stories that are similar to that. And this is what I like to tell guys, if there's any solace and comfort in it for you or anybody else who might be feeling like, hey, I missed an opportunity or coulda, shoulda, woulda. At the end of the day, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I mean, what you're doing now in supporting our nation's heroes, those that have been wounded, and as you've said, often, missing pieces and parts of their bodies, struggling, mentally, emotionally from what they saw and what they did in combat. The work you're doing now is, I'm certain, as important or more important than what you may or may not have done in a uniform. And I mean that with my whole heart. They need you, okay? And that's my message to anybody who's listening. Those that have served our country and got wounded doing it, need you now. And everybody's heard, and is very aware of the number of veterans we're losing to suicide every day. That number is, if you listen to the VA, which I think you have to, the Department of Veterans Administration, they say that we're losing 20. Their records indicate 20 veterans a day to suicide. And that's to me, that's unacceptable. It's unconscionable. I just cannot believe. And so, the foundation is doing as much as we can to reach out to these great Americans and say, hey, listen, you're not alone. What you did is not forgotten. What you did is very much valued and appreciated. And we're here to show you how much we appreciate what you did and that you're not forgotten. And we're going to provide this world-class outdoor sporting activity, this hunting or fishing event, or sometimes hunting and fishing events that are at a world-class standard. And you're not going to pay anything to do that. We're going to surround you with other combat wounded Purple Heart recipients. We're going to do it in a safe and comfortable environment, in a community, in a place that you've never been. And we're going to show you a great culture, a great time, and we're going to do our best to say thank you for what you did for this country. And you're a huge part of that, my friend. And I want to say thank you for what you're doing, for stepping up to the plate, for applying so much energy and resource to the equation. It's very valued, and I want you and anybody else who's listening that is doing this, supporting our heroes, I want to say thank you, because it's super important, and we can and have saved lives. I say that again, we can and have saved lives through this work. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it, John. I can't take but just a small part of the credit for this. If it wasn't for the wonderful people in Garrison, North Dakota there that embraced this whenever I first introduced it, it wouldn't be possible right now. The Krause family, the Schreiner family, Laurie, Jake, Bruce, Glenn Schreiner, who's no longer with us anymore, who was very, very extremely instrumental in helping me get this off the ground. And he provided the land to hunt on. And the Shriners have taken it up since then and championed it. And they make sure that whenever these guys come in every year, the red carpet's rolled out. The facilities is first class. And the hunting grounds doesn't get any better. And without everybody involved, and when I say the entire community, I'm talking about from the sheriff's department to the fire department to the Legion ladies, the quilters who make quilts for these guys every year, this, that, and more. And just the small intricate pieces that really make this thing go is where it starts at. And without these guys, we just couldn't do it.
Yes, sir. No, it takes a community. Many hands make for light work. And let me ask you, this is not meant to be a rhetorical question, and I've never asked anybody this question before, but it just popped up in my mind, so I'm just gonna ad lib and go for it. So, this model that we have is a very expensive model, okay? And people should know where their money's going, that are supporting the foundation, whether it's a fundraiser or a monthly contribution to the WWIA however you're doing it, what you're doing is very important and very much valued. Now, let's just talk about the economies of it for a second. Here's the question. Now, if you said, supposition is, it's not really supposition, it's fact. The cost of doing business, we do 40 some odd missions across the country right now, and each one of those missions all in is about $20,000, okay, to pull it off. Now we're that's 4 to 5 heroes coming from four to five different locations to a central place to hunt or fish for 3 or 4 days, all inclusive, chow, lodging, licenses, insurance, the whole thing is covered to include the planning, execution, and recovery. Now, if somebody said, well, the average contribution per hero is about $5,000, okay, all right. So I ask you this: if you went off to combat someplace, served your country, got wounded, and came back and got discharged based on your wounds, and somebody said to you, you know what? I think I'm going to build an organization, and put you on a hunting or fishing, give you a world-class hunting or fishing opportunity of your choice, and it's going to cost $5,000, and we're going to do that once every 2 or 3 years. Is that worth it? You know what I mean? Think about that, right? Right? I think this country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, ought to be able to afford to be able to do that. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's not cheap.
No, it's not.
And it's not easy.
I know firsthand because I spend a good majority of my year prior to the hunting events, pre-planning, fundraising, whatever it takes. And especially in today's climate and economy, it's gotten pretty tough. But I have found last year taught me a lesson. Last year taught me that people are still willing to give.
Yeah.
Especially those that are patriotic and that appreciates, these guys and, wants to honor them. Yeah, I mean, it's the people's there. What I go back whenever I talk to some people about these guys. I don't normally talk about their injuries to their limbs or their body per se, but that PTSD, I try to explain to people how real it is. And you were talking about suicide a little while ago, and on one of our hunts, it's been about 4 years ago, we had a Marine sniper, had terrible bodily injuries, but he suffered tremendously with PTSD. And he and I kept contact after a hunting event for a couple years. And in fact, he came to Ocean Springs and surprised me one day and walked in my store. And we had the opportunity to spend about 3 or 4 days together. Went to New Orleans and had some good food and some good visits. And then it wasn't very much long after that I get a phone call that he just couldn't survive anymore. And that PTSD had gotten to him and the best of him. And so I always go back and tell people that story because they think, that these guys only come back with physical injuries, but that's not the case at all. And missions like this that you guys do gives these guys an opportunity, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it, to bond together, be able to talk about their stories and the things that they went through in combat. And whenever they leave there, they've made friends for a lifetime. And that gives them an avenue to where, hey, if they're having a problem, they can pick up the telephone and they can call a fellow instrument and they, have somebody to talk to about what they're going through because they both understand what they're both going through. So for me, it's PTSD and what these guys are going through today that's a big importance for me.
Yeah.
And why I do what I do.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. with us, it's it's the invisible wounds. Like they said, I've had several, many years ago, probably about 15 years ago, when the foundation was really starting to grab traction and we were exporting our model across the country, beginning to do that, developing new opportunities for them. One of my good friends, who's a combat wounded veteran himself, a Ranger buddy of mine, he said to me, and he's a sergeant major now. This is a sergeant major. So he'd been in, just as long as I had on the enlisted side. He did over 20 years. And he said to me, and we were hunting in a deer blind together at one point. And he says, something, sir? He goes, what you're doing, why it's so important? And I was like, I was dying to hear the answer, coming from a sergeant major, I can tell you that. He said, I'll tell you what it is. He goes, I'll tell you what it is. He says, I don't need any more stitches, and I don't need any more operations, and I don't need any more pills. He said, you know what I need? I was like, what's that? He goes, I need more of this. And, this is what we were doing in that deer blind together, surrounding them with people who care about them, providing them, hope and opportunities they would otherwise never have, changing, helping supplant, if you will, the good memories with the bad. If you think about it that way, right, they go home after one of these missions and they're all pumped up. They just got to spend some time with their brothers, their sisters, who they shared. They share a lot in common, if you think about it. I don't care if you were in Vietnam, Operation Desert Storm Shield, Iraq, Afghanistan, OAF, New Dawn, doesn't matter. Combat is horrific. Okay. It just is horrific. We're asking these amazing men and women to do things that nobody else can do and shouldn't have to do, to defend freedom someplace, go where told, when told, fight and win. That's what they do. And oftentimes bad things happen in that process. It just does. They didn't sign up to do, for bad things to happen, but they understood when they rose their right hand that was a very likely possibility, especially during wartime.
Right.
And so for us as a nation to be able to come back and support them with opportunities that they would otherwise never have, and expressing our true gratitude and thanks in a way that only sportsmen and women can do, where communities can come together and focus on an activity. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. And the further you get away from combat, in my opinion, the more important that becomes. Because often, people forget about what happened. It wasn't too long. That's true. Hey, man, I tell you, I'm still motivated. I'm just motivated. I'm motivated to help them. I'm motivated to provide more opportunities and do this work, roll up my sleeves and do this work. Because I remember when they flew airplanes into our buildings,
Oh, yeah.
And the next day there was flags everywhere, off of every balcony in D.C. Okay, every window, every car. Everybody had flags flying everywhere, and our collective conscience as a nation rose, and it was peaked. But guess what happens after a period of time? It starts to decline. People forget.
Forgotten about.
Yeah, that's right. And these heroes that have done this amazing thing that nobody else could have done or should have done, they did.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, I know you feel it. I get it from you. But everybody else, those are the people that don't feel that. I ask you to consider thinking about that, because the average age, according to the VA, the average age of the average person taking their life today, veteran, is around 50. The average I know everybody would have thought a lot younger than that, but it's 50.
That's right.
And you know what? This is the thing. I asked my staff to do some statistics and find out what's the average age of the hero in our population, because the vast majority of that we serve are all from OIF, OEF. And you know what the answer there is? Late 30s. Late 30s. Now, what does that tell you? Do some extrapolation. That tells you between now and the next 10 years is critical time. Critical time. You know, and if you sit back and do nothing, you know, shame on you. Shame on you. You know,
I agree.
So, and you know what else is going to happen in that same 10-year period? Mark my words, there's going to be another war. Because that's what happens in this country. You know, we every 10, 15 years, we're back at it, you know, and men and women are going to put on a uniform and go, unfortunately, head back into combat.
That's right.
And so, you know, I don't know. I thank God bless you and everybody who's helping. You know, you're amazing Americans, all of you out there doing it. You know, God bless you. And if you're not doing it, there's lots of ways to do it, to get involved. Go to our website, WWIAF.org. You know, click on the ways to help button, and you can do something. You can do, you know, lots of opportunities to help and get involved. And I ask you, you know, to help us help them, because it's super important. They need you. You know, we need you now more than ever, in my opinion. So I appreciate, you know, all that you've done. You guys are doing great stuff. I'm gonna turn the mic over to you for you know, last words, last thoughts, Roy. Certainly appreciate you being on the show with us today, and what you're doing. And if there's anything that I can do for you at any point, you know, you just have to pick up that phone, ping me, and I'll do it. We'll do it for you and anybody that's on your team.
John, I appreciate it, and I appreciate, like I said, the opportunity to come on here and join you in this podcast. I just want to mention that we are planning our second annual event here in Ocean Springs, a barbecue cook-off that we do. Started last year. Last year, I think we attracted a little over 1,000 people for the day.
Wow.
This year, we're hoping to double or triple that. But we're in the planning stages of that right now. So if you can, once I get some dates, I'll reach out to you and have you get that posted on the website and help me get the word out. And looking very forward to it. Last year was an awesome time. It was an awesome event. Great music. We had terrific involvement. Our community embraced it. We had so many sponsors, I can't even count them. But this year, I'm starting to get phone calls from all of them already, wanting to know, hey, what can we do this year? What's the date's going to be? How can we help? So we've got a few more meetings to go to tie up some loose ends. And once we get through those, I'll get back with you guys and you and Karina and hopefully have another successful event this year.
Absolutely, yeah. We will promote that on our social media pages, you know, and when you get a date and get it locked down, you know, we'll look for some you know, free advertising if we can get it, local radio and other circular flyers and things like that. Whatever we can do to help you in that general area would be an honor for us to do so. And thank you in advance for I know it's a ton of work, you know, and I just thank you and your staff and your community for helping our combat wounded. We genuinely appreciate it. I know they do. And you're a great American.
I appreciate it, John. Thank you so much for having me on here today.
Absolutely.
It was an honor.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your afternoon. Good luck with your event. And we'll be helping you on the backside.
Thank you so much. God bless America.
God bless America. Thanks for listening, folks.
To learn more about the mission of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation and how you can get involved, please visit our website at WWIAF.org or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the WWIA Podcast and for helping us honor, connect, and heal our combat wounded Purple Heart heroes through the power of the great outdoors.
If you like what you're listening to here and would like to join our team in our mission to bring healing power and recovery to America's Purple Heart heroes, please become part of our Sponsor a Hero team by clicking on the link in the podcast notes or by going to wwwiaf.org/sponsor. That's wwwiaf.org/sponsor. Our heroes need you now more than ever. Thank you.